Yesterday, the world lost Sly Stone, but this isn't just another celebrity obituary. This is the story of a man who revolutionized music, broke every barrier society put in front of him, and paid a price so devastating it should serve as a warning about what we do to our pioneers. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to unstructure the myth of Sly Stone and reveal the human cost of being the first to change everything.
When we talk about revolutionary artists, we often focus on their achievements. But Sly Stone's story forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The system that celebrates innovation is often the same system that destroys the innovator. Today, we're examining 5 crucial moments that define not just Sly's career, but the cost of being a Black pioneer in America.
Sly Stone was a musical visionary who created something America had never seen: a truly integrated artistic vision. His gospel roots, combined with rock, funk, and soul, created a sound that transcended every boundary the industry had created. But what made him revolutionary wasn't just the music, it was his unwavering belief that Black and white musicians could create as equals. That vision changed everything.
Let's start with the moment that set everything in motion. Dr. Johnson, take us to 1966. Why was forming an integrated band such a revolutionary act?
Chapter 1, The Revolutionary Act, Breaking the Ultimate Barrier. Picture this, 1966 America. The Civil Rights Act was only 2 years old. Interracial marriage was still illegal in 16 states. And Sly Stone forms the first major American rock band with Black and white members playing as equals. Not backup musicians, not token inclusion, complete integration. This wasn't just musical innovation. This was a direct challenge to segregation itself. Every time they took the stage, they were making a political statement that many people weren't ready to hear.
But success brought pressure from unexpected places. Questlove, tell us about the confrontation with the Black Panthers.
Chapter 2, The Pressure from Within When Revolution Isn't Revolutionary Enough. The Black Panthers confronted Sly multiple times, demanding he kick the white members out of his band. Sometimes these weren't friendly conversations. Saxophonist Jerry Martini described them as menacing, life-threatening situations. But Sly refused every time. He stood up to the most powerful Black militant organization of the era because his vision of progress was integration, not separation. That took incredible courage, but it also isolated him from parts of the Black community he was trying to represent.
This is where we see the impossible position pioneering artists face. Too radical for white America, not radical enough for some in Black America. Sly was trying to build bridges while everyone else was choosing sides. That psychological pressure, being criticized by the very community you're trying to uplift, is devastating. It creates an isolation that few people can survive.
The music industry seemed to embrace him, though. What happened at Woodstock?
Chapter 3, The Peak Moment When Art Transcends Everything. Woodstock, August 1969, 3:30 a.m. After delays and technical problems, Sly and the family Stone finally take the stage as the sun is rising. What happens next is pure magic. They perform for 90 minutes and literally wake up America. I Want to Take You Higher becomes the anthem of a generation. For that brief moment, Sly achieved his vision. Black and white, rich and poor, all united by music. It was the closest America had come to his dream of true integration.
But here's the tragedy. That moment of triumph became the peak he could never reach again. His manager watching the footage said it best. This was Icarus, his wings made of wax, and the spotlight was the sun he flew too close to. Success at that level, under that pressure, with that much meaning attached to every move you make, it's unsustainable. The higher you go as a pioneering Black artist, the farther you have to fall.
The fall was dramatic. Dr. Johnson, what happened in the 1970s?
Chapter 4, The Systematic Destruction, When the Industry Devours Its Innovator. Here's where the data tells the brutal story. In Sly's era, while Black songwriters were paid $25 for complete ownership of their songs, white artists negotiated contracts worth up to $100,000 annually with royalties. The music industry that celebrated Sly's genius also exploited it mercilessly. Financial mismanagement, predatory contracts, the pressure to constantly top his previous success. Then came the drugs, initially to cope with the pressure, eventually consuming everything. By 1971, his album There's a Riot Goin' On reflected his psychological state. Dark, isolated, paranoid. The same industry that built him up used his struggles to justify abandoning him.
What's crucial to understand is that this wasn't just personal failure, this was systematic. As recently as 2020, BMG Rights Management found significant racial disparities in royalty payouts to Black artists across 4 of its labels. The industry had no support systems for artists facing this kind of pressure. No mental health resources, no financial protection, no understanding of what it means to carry the weight of representing an entire race while trying to create art. They wanted the innovation without supporting the innovator. It's a pattern we see repeated with Black pioneers across every field.
By 2011, he was reportedly homeless, living in a van. How do we process that level of fall?
Chapter 5, The Ultimate Price, When Revolution Costs Everything. Imagine, the man who created the blueprint for funk, who influenced everyone from Prince to hip-hop, living in a van in Los Angeles, begging for work. That's not just a personal tragedy, that's an indictment of how we treat our cultural innovators. In 2011, he told a reporter, "Please tell everybody to give me a job, play my music. I'm tired of all this shit, man." The system that profited from his genius had completely abandoned him. This is the human cost that gets erased from the mythology. Sam Moore from Sam and Dave thought he'd earned $3 million over decades. The industry said he was owed $66,000. That's the scale of systematic underpayment we're talking about. We celebrate the innovation, sample the beats, profit from the influence, but we forget the person who paid the price. Sly Stone's fall wasn't inevitable. It was the predictable result of a system that consumes Black creativity without protecting Black creators. His story should be required reading for anyone who wants to understand how innovation really works in America.
But there was a redemption of sorts, wasn't there?
Yes, and this is crucial. Sly lived long enough to see his influence acknowledged. Hip-hop artists sampling his beats, documentaries celebrating his genius, a memoir telling his story in his own words. He got to feel what I call the ripples of his genius return. That's rare for pioneers. Most die before they see their vindication. His influence on modern music is immeasurable. You hear it in everything from Prince to contemporary hip-hop.
But even that comeback required him to relive decades of trauma for our entertainment. The cost never really ends. His final years show us what repair looks like, but also how insufficient it is. Recognizing genius after destroying the genius doesn't undo the damage. It's important that we celebrated him, but it's more important that we learn from what we did to him. Every Black artist today still faces versions of the pressures that broke Sly Stone. The system hasn't fundamentally changed.
Looking at these 5 chapters together, what should families understand about progress and its costs?
Sly Stone's story teaches us that progress isn't free, and it's rarely paid for by the people who benefit from it. Pioneers pay the price psychologically, financially, personally. The integration we take for granted today was built on the sacrifices of people like Sly who dared to be first. Families need to understand that, when we celebrate innovation, we must also protect the innovators. That means supporting mental health, ensuring financial security, and creating systems that nurture genius instead of consuming it.
Most importantly, we need to stop mythologizing suffering. The idea that great art requires great pain is toxic. Sly Stone could have created even more genius if he'd been supported instead of exploited. His story isn't romantic, it's a warning. We can have innovation without destruction, but only if we consciously choose to protect our pioneers instead of consuming them.
As we process Sly Stone's death, what's his ultimate message for how we move forward?
Sly's life proves that individual brilliance isn't enough to overcome systemic problems. He did everything right. He was talented, innovative, courageous, commercially successful, but the system still broke him. That means the solution isn't telling artists to be stronger, it's building systems that support strength. His legacy should be both celebration of his genius and commitment to protecting the next generation of pioneers.
Sly's final message, written in his memoir just last year, was simple. He wanted to be remembered for the music, just the music. But his story is bigger than music. It's about what America does to its prophets, its innovators, its people who dare to show us a better way. If we truly want to honor him, we'll make sure the next revolutionary doesn't pay the price he paid.
Dr. Johnson Marcus Malik, thank you for helping us unstructure the myth and reveal the human truth. Sly Stone's death yesterday wasn't just the end of a life. It was a reminder of how we treat our most valuable innovators. These 5 chapters prove that progress comes with a price, and too often, that price is paid by the very people who make progress possible. The music will live forever, but the man who created it paid a cost that no pioneer should have to bear. This is why we examine the human impact behind every headline, because understanding the true price of progress is the first step toward ensuring it's never paid the same way again. What we learn today extends far beyond music history. Sly Stone's journey from revolutionary integration to systematic destruction to posthumous celebration is the story of how America treats its black pioneers. The beats that drive today's music, the integration we consider normal, the artistic freedom modern musicians enjoy, all of it was built on the sacrifice of a man who dared to envision a different world. His death at 82 closes a chapter, but his warning remains. Innovation without protection leads to destruction. The families who understand this dynamic, who see both the promise and the peril of being first, will be the ones who thrive. Because real progress isn't just about breaking barriers, it's about protecting the barrier breakers who make our future possible.